today we are going to be doing some full Catholic Let me just first send this to a group chat. Why does my voice sound like this? Help me. Okay. Let's go there something then.
Yeah. I mean, high schools are like public high schools.
We'll go to the next today, so oh my god, it's talking really good.
That's okay. SaaSFiA builds models and makes decisions, so you don't have to freak out. But we like freaking out. We're getting so much done.
Oh, good talk.
From data to ta-da, SaaSFiA.
Data to ta-da, but I didn't even
beautiful college, but the point is that you were saying what they already learned it. They don't. I don't want this to be a pop quiz or trivia. I didn't go to college, and I'm asking very basic civic questions, and you're paying to go to college, and you can't answer them.
That's so fair, but I think...
Thank you, sorry.
she's the first step of the majority, guys. This was Poppy could have dropped my vote.
Our question is church a scam? No, church is honoring the divine and the eternal and the good and the true and the beautiful. It's college, but it deceives people because you give a promise of everlasting life, which you don't actually get because Christianity is contradictory logically.
Okay.
Do you want to get into a theological debate, or are we going to have some knowledge? Because I completely disagree. Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior, and we will have eternal life. Okay, so how, if there is a perfect being that created the world, how could we exist in an imperfect world? And after you have this discussion, can we go back to college though? Because you think
Right.
that's a little bit of a red herring and a little bit of a rabbit hole. Tell me what that has to do with college being a scam. Well, I do think college can be a scam for certain people. I don't think it's a scam for everyone. So for people like me, college was very beneficial for me. For sure. Who is it? I'm asking you, explain your definition of a scam. Do you consider the Christian church a scam? Of course not. It's giving people eternal life and teaches them goodness. But if Christianity is false, then that's a deception. Okay, but you think it's false. I don't. We can agree to disagree. Also, I'm not agreeing to disagree on that. But we're not talking about the church. We're talking about college, right? So again, also people are not paying to go to church, are they? But it's a reductio ad absurdum. Ask the question. What's a reductio ad absurdum? That's a Latin term that means reducing down to the lowest common belief, correct? Yeah, so I'm taking. Am I right? I didn't go to college. I knew that. I'm taking your particular position. Let me ask you a question without you interrupting me. Do you pay to go to church? No, I don't. Some people do. They're forced to pay based on their particular denomination. And today, do you pay to go to church? It's depending on the church. No, you don't. You have to go to debt to go to church. In some circumstances, people do because they have to give up 10% of their income to be able to do that, which people can't afford. Well, if they're LDS, you understand a lot of LDS churches specifically require 10%. They don't require it, and what you're doing in plenty of places. Well, you're asking mainline Christian. Isn't there stigmatization if you don't do that? You're good at interrupting, not good at answering. Well, you haven't answered any of my questions yet. I just say no. Church is not a scam. Church is the bride of Christ. College is a scam, and college is people are going into debt. They're paying a lot of money. I want to ask you a question. You said it's a scam for some people. Who's it a scam for? Yeah, for people who specifically aren't ever going to use it, never use any of the knowledge that they receive from it. Well, you say 52%. I don't think you can grant a qualify 52% of people don't do that. For example, my job, that's not going to be recommended as an economics degree. Most economics majors are going to go into TikTok debating online. But I use the information that I learned in college in my job on a daily basis. So I still use relevant qualities that are then used in my job later on. What percentage of kids that go to college are being scammed? I don't think anyone knows that. Because it's dependent upon an individual. Should we try to find out? Oh, if you like to find some empirics on that, I'd love to see it. I just did. So 41%. Well, the Department of Education is the source. No, the Department of Education doesn't say 41% of people it was a scam for, so that they didn't use any of the information they learned in college. You are using. So are you saying none of them use any of the information? And I say 3 words without you interrupting me? Do any of them use the information later on? Can I say 5 words that interrupt you? You've interrupted me multiple times. So since you say college is a scam for some people, it's a ballpark. For the kids that do not graduate, 41% that ended up going and not graduating, were they scammed? No, just because you go and pay for a particular thing, but then you don't follow through with it, doesn't mean you were scammed. Maybe they were misled. Decided to pay for it. Oh, you could say some people are misled. Some people are stigmatized into these things. You think that some people are misled in the church? And you never answered my question on that because you're trying to take that time down so you don't have to answer the question about Christianity because you know your worldview looks terrible. Well, what about Christianity do you want me to answer? I think it's false. Or because Because I was saying, is church a scam? If church is a scam, that'd be predicated off of the idea that you're deceived into believing that there's everlasting life.
Okay, but you
specifically from
believe that
Christianity.
again,
So Christianity has to be true. So can you grant that? What's the argument?
Christianity is true. Did the
What's the
resurrection?
argument?
You're going to let me finish 3 words in a row?
Appreciate it.
That's not
Okay.
very good argument.
Did the resurrection happen?
I don't think the resurrection occurred.
Okay, I disagree.
No.
Okay, so let me ask you a question.
Can't
A
say
perfect
disagree.
creator, is it possible for them to not desire something imperfect?
A perfect is a perfect creator. I'm sorry, what?
So
Well,
if there's a perfect creator that desires everything that's just perfect, how can they desire something imperfect? Flawed.
Well, because maybe they want to get to know themselves. Maybe they want to see their own creation. Maybe they love
They
their
want to
creation.
get to know them?
Can I
Or
finish?
it's all knowing?
Can I finish talking here? Okay. Maybe because God loved the world so much that his creation, which rebelled against him, given agency and free will, rebelled against them, then got eternal life that we actually deserve, and then sent his son on a rescue mission to save us from that. The church is the bride of Christ, will save us from damnation that we deserve. College is far from the bride of America. It's currently scamming the youth of this country and sending them into oblivion.
Didn't answer the question.
I did.
No? You didn't say how they could desire something imperfect.
Well, God
We'll
can do
talk about that
anything.
later. Don't
God
worry.
can do anything. So
What the?
Even something logically contradictory.
no, it's not logically contradictory.
To desire something imperfect.
Can an unstoppable object hit a unmovable horse?
That's completely different.
I've had 5 years of Microsoft experience, one of the world's largest companies, and I've also
What is
completed two apprenticeships.
Charlie saying?
Hey, before we go any further, we want to take a moment to say thanks so much to Straight Arrow News for powering the fact checks in this video. By raising the bar on news and focusing on serving you unbiased, straight facts. Thanks again to Straight Arrow News for partnering with us on this episode. Now, let's get into it.
And my next claim is that trans women are not women.
Oh, I disagree.
Okay. What's your name?
Sam.
Nice to meet you. Let's define our terms. A woman is an adult female XX chromosomes. Can you
No.
tell me what is a woman?
I think a woman is somebody who identifies as a woman.
Got it.
Correct.
So that's not a definition. That's like saying a table is something that identifies as a table. Give me an objective definition
No,
of
it's
how.
not. A table is an object.
Well,
A table can't identify as anything. It doesn't have a
You have
choice.
to give me an objective definition of what a woman is.
If I decided right now that I wanted to identify as a woman, I would be a woman.
Okay, but that doesn't answer the question.
I know, but
you
right
said-
now I'm a man, right? So if that
Well, you
happened
have to
right
tell
now,
me
I'd be a
what
woman.
that thing
So
is.
once a person makes the decision to identify as a woman,
Got it. No,
they're a woman.
that's a separate issue. What is a woman?
That's the definition.
No, I know, but you have to tell me what.
A person who identifies themselves as a woman.
But you have to. Then how do you know that they are that thing?
How do I don't need to know what they.
No,
I can ask them if
Not
I
that
want
they
to
need
know.
But there needs to be. You need to tell me what that thing is, though.
Somebody who. Okay,
You need to
sorry,
give
we're not
me-
getting anywhere. We're
you
not
need to-
getting
well,
anywhere.
no,
We're not
it's
getting anywhere.
important because it's like saying a giraffe is a thing that looks like a giraffe, or a coyote is a thing that looks like a coyote. It's called circular reasoning. You have to give me a actual definition.
I don't have to. I did give you a definition.
No, you said that a woman is something that thinks they're a woman. That doesn't give me a definition. That's simply
What would you consider a definition then?
an adult female with XX.
No.
chromosomes.
I mean, like, what makes that a definition?
Hello,
Hi.
Juliana.
Juliana,
I remember,
yeah.
okay.
I don't necessarily think that you can define a woman just by her chromosomes. Women are so much more than that. They come in a variety of shapes, sizes, colors. And I don't necessarily think that you can count out somebody who's trans just because they don't have a certain set of chromosomes. There are also people who are born, I'm drawing a blank.
Okay. Intersex?
yes,
So XXY or YYX.
or just, or like
sure.
X0 with nothing.
So natural mutations upon the binary, essentially, right?
Yes. So,
But they don't have both sex organs that both operate, right?
yeah, but that also I don't think necessarily works, right? Because if it's X
one
and
is
X,
one
and
is
there's
That's the definition.
So
Okay,
you're either
that's-
more male or more female, right? So you might have both a penis and vagina, but there's never been a case of someone who can impregnate themselves.
okay. I also don't necessarily think that works for this situation, but I also want to say that one of my best friends is trans, and I would say that she's more of a woman than I am. I think that women define themselves by multiple things, not just their sex organs. If somebody asked me who I was as a woman, I would not say I have a vagina.
Totally fair.
I wouldn't.
No, I think you said something smart. You said that person is more of a woman than you are. Therefore, you're grading off a definition of something accomplishes womanhood. What is that?
I think it's, well, that's the thing too, and I do think that gets a little complicated, right? Because there are social norms for a gender, but I do think you try to break that, right?
No, for
It's
sure.
just,
But you said that specific friend is more of a woman than you are. Why?
I think she's a better person than me. I think she
So
lives
women are better
life.
people.
She's a better woman than I am. I'm not saying women are better
No,
people.
but what makes a woman? Because you said she's more of a woman than you are. So I want to know what that definition is.
Right, okay. I'm going to let somebody else go.
Come on, Parker. Come on, Parker.
Okay.
Yes, Parker. Yes, Parker. I love you,
All right, Parker. What is a woman?
A woman is an adult human person that has a desire to be in accordance with a particular set of social and cultural norms that are typically associated with female sex. Now, define a man. Define a man.
You're looking at one XY chromosomes.
Okay, but does God the Father have XY chromosomes prior to incarnation?
We literally have a religious
He's
topic.
a father and you see him, but he's not a man?
We have a religious.
Wait, so a man is someone with XY chromosomes, but he doesn't have XY chromosomes, yet he's still a man, and he still uses preferred pronouns?
Actually very interesting. In the original Hebrew, Adonai, you know what Adonai is? It's the Hebrew word for God. It's actually genderless, but in the scriptures, they use he, right? And they use the masculine. Jesus Christ came to earth as a man, not as a woman, not as genderqueer. But let's go back to...
But God the Father is a man, right?
Well,
because all fathers are men.
Well, first of all, there's a trinity. So God the Father is neither man nor woman. He is omniscient, omnipotent. He is all being on top of it. Well, I did not. The scriptures do. You could use woman. You could say her. You could use him. But the way that the language is structured, again, it is so... God the Father is so above gender. It is so above any of our understanding.
Do I use him?
Glory and understanding. Again, because you have to make a choice. Either he or him or her in the original scripture. Let's go back to...
Some fathers aren't men and boys.
So
some fathers are not men and boys. Not men or boys.
Like, oh, let's
Sorry, some fathers are not male.
No, of course they are.
Wait, so God the Father is a male?
Hold on, God the Father. So where do we get God the Father from? What Greek word?
From your scripture.
Well, from Abba, right, which is very close to personal.
You're not answering my questions, and you're bringing up random language that doesn't matter.
Well, it actually does.
No, it doesn't.
But let me get down to the root of it,
Because he's not a man. You know he's not a man under your worldview. You still use his preferred pronouns. You still call him a man.
Christ is a
You
man.
don't do that with trans people because you're transphobic. That's why.
Okay, got it. But Christ is a man. I'm happy to get into the sexuality and
Before
gender
incarnation, he's not.
of the Trinity, okay?
Before incarnation, there's no penis, there's no XY chromosomes, there's no small
Hold on a
gametes.
second. Let's think about it. If that's correct, how is it then Jacob saw the face of God?
Okay, so if there's
Hold on. If there was nothing before the incarnation, how did Jacob see the face of God? How did Jacob wrestle with God?
there's not basis without biology.
How did Jacob wrestle with God?
So okay, do you think that he has a body?
Well,
Or was that a figurative notion of wrestle?
That's a mystery of the scriptures. I'm not here. Well, it is. I'm not here to debate theology. Can we go back to
But does he actually have biology? You keep trying to pivot because you know this debunks you.
Well,
What biology does your God have?
Well, the one of Christ our Lord.
No, I meant before incarnation.
Well, to be honest, I don't quite know, and I
You
don't
don't
think
know?
the scriptures
So
are.
you don't know what a man is?
Well,
You can't define what a man is?
It's a little opaque. Again, you're looking at a man.
But your video, the largest video on TikTok is what is a woman, 20 million views. You don't know what a man is under your own
I
worldview?
said you're looking at a man, right?
Wait, but
Am I
God the
looking at
Father
a man?
doesn't meet that criteria.
Am I looking
Yes,
at a man?
you are.
Okay, good. Just
A man that's defeating you in a debate right
okay,
now.
that's fine. So let me ask you a question, though. So, do you think that anybody can become a woman?
I think that
Yeah.
anyone who meets my criteria is a woman.
What's your criteria?
Again, an adult human person that has a desire to be in accordance with a particular set of social and cultural norms that are typically associated with female sex.
Can society ever be wrong?
Sure, but like it's a desire to be in accordance with a set of social and cultural norms.
Can I
It's not
become black if
society's
I wear
right.
blackface?
No, because it's not a desire that you have to be in accordance
I
with a
don't.
particular set of
What
social
if somebody
and cultural
wants to be black?
Because race is defined, phenotypically based on the expression to other people.
But you're by some standard you're judging that.
Do you think there's a phenotypical expression of someone who's white, someone who's black? Like I see you're white, because of your phenotypical expression.
Right. So, but you think, but Rachel Dolezal that said she is black and culturally black, is she black?
Does she have phenotypically characteristics you would associate with
Define
people who are black?
phenotypical. I'm not sure what that would be.
It's going to be the expression.
So
of,
mel-
Oh, that's what people say. Who's this? Oh, All right, let's go back to Jubilee Charlie Cox.
And then content once again.
Yes.
Okay. So she could pass as a black person.
Wait, so she doesn't have the melanin content?
She's borderline.
No?
Heavily.
Okay, so then she's not black.
Okay, so you're able to say who is black and not black?
That's how we define it in society, no?
Okay, got it. So, but is there an objective definition of who is black?
Wait, language is all subjective. Linguistics professionals indicate it's subjective.
Language is all subjective.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh,
Every
really?
word you just used was created by the other human beings that are engaging in conversation.
Got it. No, now
you might think it's created by God, but even then it's still subjective.
But now we're
God.
getting somewhere.
God's the
So
subject.
now we're getting somewhere. Is the word and the value behind murder objective or subjective?
Well, I think morality is subjective. But you think it's subjective too?
So
Because it comes
hold on.
from God.
That's interesting.
Wait,
So-
does it come from God or independent of God?
Well, no, it's of course it comes from God. It's transcendent.
That's subjective. That's subjective. Yes, it is. If it comes from God, it's specifically subjective. If it comes independent of God, then it's objective.
No,
What
it's
you just told me is
God
God
is
is
God
also
is objective
compatible with
morality.
moral
People
and
from
realism.
Thai
So let's go back to the Ten Commandments.
You don't understand
Right?
metaphysics.
Well, hold on a second.
What does subjective morality mean? What does it mean?
Subjective morality
Define
means that it comes in everybody's own opinion, their own form,
True
not
dependent upon a
objective.
stance.
Again,
God is a stance, and that's the truth
hold on
of
a second.
morality.
So if let's believe, do you believe in if everybody believed in the concept of God, the transcendent God, that there was a Ten Commandments and we should live by them, right?
Yeah.
Is that objective morality?
No. Just because people agree
so
doesn't
then-
make it
so, okay,
objective.
so then what-
Make it independent of a
then
stance.
what is
Agreeance is
what
not
what
independent of a
what
stance.
is objective morality? Sorry, thanks. We'll be back at it next time.
Worried about the pace of tech? Don't close the skills gap. Shatter it with the leader, Pluralsight. Guide the new generation of experts.
Mason, how are you? Nice to meet you. Okay.
So I think it's a little scummy that you're plagiarizing the whole Matt Walsh thing. Like your thing is
I
the
pay him
worship of Israel and
I
everything like
pay
that.
him
Like,
royalty.
okay, for sure. Well, do you want to talk about sex first, or do you want to talk about gender?
I don't think gender exists. I think it's a term that John Money and Judith Butler created over the last 40 years that basically is a filler for personality.
Okay, well, if we're talking about sex, which it seems like you're saying is the exact same thing, would you say sex is binary by definition?
For sure, yes, absolutely.
Okay, so you're already
They're-
incorrect. Like, sex is not binary; it's bimodal. So if you look at a distribution graph, we're going to see people in two camps majority of the time, but there are going to be
Right,
externalities on both ends of the spectrum and in the
For
middle.
example, like
So we already talked about
right.
intersex. Right?
However, with intersex though, they are mutations of a binary, correct?
No, we're talking about.
Hold on, but
We're talking about an entire spectrum.
Wait,
Like, you're
It's-
by
it's
definition
like 21
defeating your
is
expression of what a
zero
binary
bounces
is by
to a
saying that
binary.
there are externalities.
but let me ask you a question. But like XXY,
Charlie,
example,
you're
what-
trying to create its
what-
own box and then use any examples that are outside of that
No, but
box
you brought up
to justify that box
you
again.
brought up intersex.
We're talking about reality.
You brought up intersex.
Okay.
What sex organs? Which one is more dominant
What do you mean?
in an XXY situation?
Can you explain your point of view?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you have more female characteristics and male characteristics in an XXY, or it might be YYX. One of the two. The point is that you do not have both.
We could see people with female reproductive organs that have XY, and we can see the vice versa, people with male reproductive organs that have XX.
So I think you said something about gender, though. I think that's more interesting to get into.
Okay,
You understand how the conversation.
So we're moving off to sex because
Well,
you're
no,
ceding that argument.
No, I'm not ceding it.
Okay.
You want to keep going into it?
We can. If you'd like.
Oh, okay, so besides male and female, what categories exist?
We have people that are intersex. We have people that are on the other ends of the bimodal distribution
Right.
graph. Are you aware what
It's
bimodal
no
means
gender,
versus binary?
Somewhat of an
I'm not the
understanding.
one.
Okay, well,
So
you
I'm
can
not-
be presented with a graph after this by the people that you brought with you, but it's actually a bimodal
So
distribution.
just like constantly going to condescending type talk is not going to be fruitful.
I'm just trying to match
here,
your
but, like,
energy with the people that you treated that we're trying to have a
Got it.
conversation.
So trans
It seems
women
like-
are not women. Do you
Okay.
agree with that?
I would say that trans women are women because
I
people
agree.
that exist under the category of women, people that exist under the category of men, are still
Got
female.
it. So that category, how is that defined?
Well, I wouldn't limit it to things like genitals or things like chromosomes, which seems like you want to do. What type of genitals would you say I have? Since
I don't
you're
know.
so obsessed with genitals?
I'm not obsessed with genitals, but I could do a blood sampling right now and I can see exactly what you are because every single one of your trillions of cells are either coded with XX or XY. No matter how much surgery, whatever. I think that you are man, but you could fool me. You could take hormones. You could play camouflage. Like I could fool you to be Hispanic if I had the right Hollywood makeup director. That doesn't mean that you are the thing, though.
But you're going from an objective biological perspective, which we've already talked about with sex. I'm talking about a social construct or a social
Right,
utility.
Yeah.
So like if we were at a restaurant, right?
I'm
sitting down at-
You're a man.
And I'm sitting down at the table, and you're telling the waiter, "Hey, I want to go sit with blank. What would you use?"
With
He
you.
doesn't know my name.
Yeah.
I'm sitting over there.
That guy.
Yeah.
Yes. Correct.
That guy. You're gonna typically use he or him, or you're gonna say that guy, like you just said.
Correct.
Because you're ascribing the male gender to me based on my
Yes, and
performative
I
characteristics.
say I could be an error. Maybe you are a biological woman.
And then you correct
that takes-
yourself, right?
That take maybe not.
So that's what that is
That's
exactly what we're trying to say.
Hold on,
is-
so the question is that, do you think that womanhood can then be assumed just through costume design?
It's not costume design.
What is it then?
It's performative social
Performative.
characteristics.
So you could
Yes,
you could act
that's
it.
what gender is.
Okay, great,
Got
got
it.
it. So you
Yes.
could, it's like a theater troupe.
It's not a theater troupe.
So
these are social. These
So
are social
womanhood
categories.
can be appropriate.
No, they're categories. That's
So
what it is.
so there's nothing inherent about the chromosomes. There's nothing that.
Yes.
Wow, we disagree. So there's nothing inherent about having a period or being able to give birth or the specific hormonal
In
makeup.
different cultures, we describe that to womanhood. If you go back to other cultures spanning thousands of
Yeah,
years,
for sure.
you'll see a difference. When
No,
it
I
comes
know.
to those
Like,
types
for
of
example, the
categories.
Mayans had plenty of people that were schizophrenic, right? So that means nothing to me, right?
Okay,
So-
we have people that say they're hearing things from God. Would you say that's schizophrenic?
Well, not necessarily. It's built Western civilization and
Okay,
common law and due
cool.
process
All
and
right.
individual rights.
I just
and
wanted to hear that you're
defense of the unborn and the greatest civilization ever. You know, that voice from God happened to build the greatest nation ever to exist in the history of the world. That's
Okay,
fine.
I think the Mayans would say the same thing. That's the problem with presuppositional
Yeah,
arguments.
let's go down
is that you could say
Can
anything.
we go
I mean, God's telling me right
go
now
visit
that
the Mayan
you're a
nation?
fish. Do you think that's
Can
real?
we go to the Mayan nation? They didn't live that long, did they?
Yeah, over killing and violence, and you can justify that if you like.
You mean all the child sacrifice?
And this is the
on top
condescending
of
tone.
temples?
That's why I'm trying to match it. Is because
You mean all the child sacrifice the Aztecs, Mayans, and Incans did on the top of temples? Great
Do
civilization.
you want to go back in the Old Testament? Let's bring Parker up in here
But-
and talk about
hold
all
on,
the
wait,
child,
hold on, no.
child marriage,
Wait,
and
hold
we
on,
can talk
wait,
about the justification of rape.
Where was child sacrifice ever in the Bible?
When Isaac was
Oh.
almost fucking sacrificed
Well, hold
by
on.
his dad.
He wasn't though, because at the beginning of
Yeah,
Genesis,
so God just
hold
said
on.
like, nah, just kidding, dog.
Yeah,
Don't actually
you know
kill
why?
your son.
Because at the beginning of Genesis 16 said, I'm going to test
Prove
Abraham.
obedience.
Yeah, that's
correct.
right. So now you know it. So actually, there was no child sacrifice in the Bible. It was a prohibition on child sacrifice in the Bible. But anyway,
Gotcha.
that's a little bit of a rabbit hole. Do you understand at least? Can you sympathize with our perspective?
I don't know what
that,
to do.
that
I'll calm it down a little bit. I apologize for the
no,
content.
it's fine. I mean, but you're doing it's fine. But do you see where this could get wildly out of control? At least on
I
this
don't
screen.
see how it get out of control because
Even in sports, for example, you think that there's
Okay.
there's
so this is something that we might be able to agree upon, right? Sports were not archaeologically dug up, right? The rules of sports, they are things that we've created as a society. We have decided as a society the most fair categorization is male sports and female sports. Now, as we've been able to understand, or at least bring into the forefront, people who don't identify with the binary, we still have to allow all people that are women in the women's category and all men that are men in the women's category. That includes cis and trans. If you'd like to change that category because you think it's unfair, we can do that. That's what's awesome about arbitrary rules is we can
So,
decide hormones.
I might not know this, but like when the Greeks started the Olympics 2,000 years ago, did they have like a bunch of dudes wrestling with women?
I don't even think they allowed women to compete.
Well,
I might be wrong on that,
but
but
that kind of proves the point, though, that there was a
yeah. And what did we do to allow women? We changed the rules.
right. No, but that by definition, therefore, there is something from body composition, bone mass, lung density, testosterone, and estrogen rates. Endocrinology
So
is different.
if you'd say the majority of males in the bimodal distribution graph, we're going back to that, you can say, hey, we want this level of hormones in this particular category. We separate it by hormones. I agree with you that a majority of men are, or majority of cis men are.
You got to be like 99.9%.
I don't know. Ronda Rousey could kick my ass. I will say that.
No, for sure. But
Okay.
I mean, but could she kick Conor McGregor's ass?
Well, now we're talking about the peaks, right?
No,
The
she's at the
peaks
peak
of
though.
cisgender.
No, because you're talking about the peaks of two different categories in the same sort of.
Right, because why? She's a cis woman.
She's a cis woman and
Correct. A
he's-
cis man.
but yes, and
Correct.
he could kick her tail, right?
Yes, I would agree.
Well, okay, for sure, right?
Because cis men and cis women have different hormone levels. If we want to change the hormones, we can change the categorization. But you're saying that you want men and women, bar none, and you say that's the most like fair category. Then we have to allow all women and all men.
But again, those things don't. So I just want to be clear. So because I think I'm tracking your argument, is that in the University of Pennsylvania swim team, when Thomas swam against biological women, you're perfectly fine with that.
I think as long as we have the categories
Mason.
that way.
Thanks.
Good to meet you, Jeff.
Using ChatGPT like Google? That's why it feels useless. And try this instead.
Let me get him in. Debated you. No, you're fine. You're fine. What's your name?
Hi, my name is Preeti. Nice to meet
Brittany.
you.
Nice to meet you. Go ahead.
Preeti. Preeti.
Preeti,
P-R-E.
I'm sorry.
You're totally
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so I kind of want to go back to a little earlier. You said that Parker has lower G than you. So would you say?
All a joke.
Yeah.
I-
No.
I-
I'm fully aware it's a joke. But I guess like on that point, do you think that like T has to do or testosterone has to do with your manhood?
No.
Like, your,
Well, yes and no. I mean, if you are looking at typical testosterone estrogen rates of women, they are far different than those of men. But
right.
for
But like
example, like your testosterone rate goes
example, a trans woman who used to be a man to be like competing in women's sports. You cited that they have higher testosterone levels.
One of about 50 characteristics. Also lung density. Men's hearts are bigger.
Okay.
We have greater bone
those-
density, muscle mass.
Okay,
Tend
but
to be faster, be
yeah,
stronger.
I understand. But like those factors all come from the hormones during the development process, correct?
No, not necessarily. No.
I mean, most of them do.
Well, not all of them. So, for example, you could try to pump a young girl's body with testosterone at 8 years old, and you can get them stronger. You cannot necessarily get them on par with a biological male at puberty. You cannot. You could try,
Okay, but like
because there's something in the coding of our genetics.
the coding of our genetics, which is often like controlled by like different like I guess parts of our DNA and also the hormones that are produced that affect the effective
But
coding
we're
of how
more than
your
endocrinologists in part. Because, for example, if you just give a kid testosterone, that doesn't even get them close to becoming a male, or estrogen giving them a female.
Okay.
They might get characteristics that are close to that,
right, okay.
but it doesn't.
But I mean,
let me-
like there's no perfect image of like this is what a female looks like, this is what a male looks
No,
like.
but
Like we
for
all get our
example-
periods at different ages. Some of us like and also like for example, like there are many circumstances where womanhood is just not one thing, right? It's a multitude of experiences
For
that
sure.
every single
Can you define what womanhood is? That's an interesting question.
well, no, I can't define what womanhood is. And the reason why is because it's something that's an individual experience for every single person, right? Like my experiences, what I have experienced throughout my life is not going to be the same as another woman who may have like grown up in a different
We have
environment.
disagreement, but not clarity. I say that being a womanhood is an objective thing.
Right. But we
It's
are we
objective outside of one's own
Okay.
opinions or experiences.
so but are we at the point where we're discussing where this is like not something based on your chromosomes, but something maybe based on a construct?
Well, no, it also can be objectively witnessed in empirical ways, in biological ways, in scientific ways.
Okay. So to clarify, we're still discussing whether womanhood is on chromosomes or not.
If you'd like to discuss that, it's deeper
Like-
than just chromosomes.
Right, right. I'm just trying to
For
like
example-
define exactly.
For example, if we look at SPECT scans or brain scans of men and women, 98% of the time, artificial intelligence can tell you which one is the men and which one is the female.
Okay.
So our different parts of our brains fire.
Okay, what about
Okay,
the 2%?
For men, for example, our amygdalas are not as high working as women. You know, what amygdala is the threat assessment part.
So obviously, like so there's a difference between the concept for what sex is, which is a biological aspect, and what gender is, which is a social construct,
I
right?
reject gender completely as a different word. It's really
Okay, so
personality.
that's where
Yes.
the existence of gender is.
Gender means personality.
Okay.
I don't doubt that biological men might
How
have
would you
feminine type
define
characteristics.
race on that point?
How would I define
How would you define race?
Well, race is a very difficult topic.
Okay, because I think that it's a really important thing to
Because,
discuss when it
because
comes
here's
to
the thing,
this.
if I draw blood, if
Is
there
it
was-
ethnic lines?
if
Is
you,
it
if you have a blood sample of a black individual and a white individual, I can't tell you which one is which. If I have a blood sample of a man and a woman, I can tell you which one is which, just by running very simple elementary blood tests. So, for example, if there was a Hispanic or a white, there is no difference in
why
the genetic
is it?
coding. There just isn't.
Why
We
is
don't
it
see-
important that someone's
My next claim is that Kamala Harris is a DEI candidate.
I've already watched this claim. Charlie's wrong, by the way. She actually is an EI candidate. Not a didn't earn it candidate, but earned it candidate.
Okay, I guess the claim I'm making is that affirmative action is constitutional.
Tell me about your claim.
I wanted to talk about affirmative action because we haven't really gotten to it, and it's recently been revoked based on the new Supreme Court ruling. And I firmly believe that affirmative action is constitutional and is a right that certain American citizens deserve. And I just wanted to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, the 14th Amendment allows for equal protection regardless of race, and it's a colorblind amendment. The whole idea of affirmative action is to try to give people extra boost based on their skin color or their racial background, which by definition cuts underneath the idea of equal protection.
Okay. So do you know why the 14th Amendment was founded and the Equal Protection and Equal Rights Act
Yeah, the 14th
exists?
Amendment was a post-Civil War amendment. 14,
Yes.
15, 16, 17 were all during Reconstruction.
So what was it in response to?
Slavery.
Oh, and who were slaves?
Well, that's an important point. So, do you think affirmative action will help heal the multi-generational problems of slavery?
I do. I really do. Because, so let's just talk about the history for a second. Slavery begins in the early 1800s.
Early
No,
slavery,
1816 is the beginning of slavery.
1619.
Oh, yeah, I guess we'll be. Okay, first slaves come in 1619, doesn't end until
That's
1800.
a sleeper in the Bible.
Then we go into Jim Crow laws
But
starting in
that's actually
1877, and black people are not given equal rights until officially 1965. Would you agree with that?
That's generally the correct telling.
Yeah, so, 1960s, 1970s.
But just so we're clear that Black Americans were able to serve in office in the early 1900s. They were able to vote throughout the 1900s. But yes, there were poll taxes. There was Jim Crow laws. There was segregation. Of course there was. And we get to be delusional not to acknowledge those.
Okay, so we can acknowledge all of those things. Can we also acknowledge, due to the laws under Jim Crow, that black people were significantly hindered from economic advancement?
This is a really important question. The data shows not really. It was evil. It was terrible. But Black Americans are poorer today in 2024 than they were in the 1950s.
Yes. Why do you think that
Good
is?
question. So we have the Civil Rights Act. We have more benefits, more government programs. Something changed between the 1950s and 2024. So there's two answers to this question. Either America got more racist since 1950s to 2024. So like that 70-year period, because Black Americans are worse off today per capita
Yeah,
than
I would
they were.
agree with that.
You agree with that? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Than in the 1950s. Or there's another explanation. And I think the truth is somewhere in the middle, which is I think you would acknowledge that the disappearance of the Black father has been the number one driver of Black poverty in this country. Now, there are reasons for that we
Yeah. What do you think the reason for that is?
well, culture is one. Would you agree?
So actually, let's go back to the
You say
foundations of
school to
that
prison
culture.
pipeline, all that stuff. But we at least agree that Black dads not being around is a bad thing.
Anyone's father not being around is a bad thing.
No, of course,
not
but
specifically.
75% of Black youth are not raised with a father in the home. It's the highest of any group in the country. It used to be 25% in the 1950s, so it's gone up dramatically in 70 years.
Okay, so you are blaming the fact that black people have not been able to achieve economic equality and
Or even
advancement in
progress.
this
It's-
country,
They've had decrease.
specifically and solely
Not
because
solely.
of the absence
Not
of black
solely.
men.
It is the most primary ingredient reason.
So you think it's the absence of black fathers,
Correct.
and you think what else?
Public sector teacher unions that have kept these schools crummy and kids aren't reading and teachers keep getting paid and we don't fire bad teachers. It's a big thing.
Okay,
War on police in our inner cities and not having enough police and not actually locking up criminals. Hear me out. For example, in Chicago, do you know that only half of all murders go solved in the city of Chicago?
that doesn't surprise me at all.
That's a problem, right?
That is a problem.
Yeah. So we need more police, more detectives to solve those murders. But I want to hear your points too. I'm talking too much.
So let's go back a little bit to what you said in the issue of policing. Now, starting in the 1980s and continuing onward, there's been a war on drugs. Is this correct?
I like the war on drugs.
You like the war on drugs. So
Oh.
during the war on drugs, it created an epidemic of mass incarceration, specifically
Hold on.
Of-
Only if you're using drugs or
no.
peddling drugs. If you don't use
No.
drugs, then you go to jail, right?
So you believe that the criminal justice system is flawless?
No, I never said flawless. There's a lot of people in jail that shouldn't be in jail. There's a lot of problems in any system.
Okay, so wait, let's
But
talk on
however,
that. So you believe that a lot of people who have gone to jail
I'm gonna be honest, I
shouldn't
need to
be in
know
jail?
how
A small
much back
percent. What
channels.
percent would you say?
I know that ain't our Tahoe. No, that was actually Charlie Kirk. I was watching a Breakfast Jubilee debate. I think we should get Trump pooped on. Poo-poo. Or something like that. Listen, look at this combination. Right? Yeah, look at that. Look at that person. That's my hero. Oh, I really want to work Clutch with the Entrances Limbo completion again.
Tienes el diferente pronto. Ya tengo pronto. Está muy pronto. Por eso. estoy en plan, estoy penitencia, no te gusta tanto tipo.
Hello, Mama. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. Very well. Yeah, will do. Night. That's going to be, it's only good. My hand is so slippery. Thank you. Thank you.
Celeste, Celeste. ¿Cuál es? ¿Qué le ha pasado? Me voy a suicidar.
Devotion Technoblade.
I
TV license for all TV channels and BBC iPlayer.
Those tweed jackets really are to die for. Hey guys, it occurred to me that I went to college for like a year, and I never told any stories of what happened there on my YouTube channel. Largely because I didn't really upload a lot that year, or since then. I planned to tell all those stories during summer vacation, but the thing is, summer of 2019 was a pretty insane time, man. I got sidetracked, so I figured I should tell some of those stories while I can still remember them and farm that free, juicy content. Although I have to say, for this story, I don't think there was much risk of me forgetting. But first, it's a pig. It's a plane. It's Technoplane on sale now at youtooz.com for $29.99 with free worldwide shipping. Also, it can actually fly. For legal reasons, that was a joke. The Technoplane will be on sale until they run out. Our last U2 sold out on the first weekend, so buy one while you can. And if you're a fan of free stuff, enter my Twitter giveaway. We're giving away one Technoplane every 1,000 retweets, and it ends a few hours after this upload. So hurry and make it while you can. Either way, links will be in the description. Back to the video. I'm going to be real with you. I waited until the last possible moment to record this video, and now the server is completely exploding because there's 90,000 people online. So it's a bit of an L for Technoplane, but we're going to try our best and see what happens. So anyways, in college, I didn't really go around announcing that I had a YouTube channel. You know, I didn't, it wasn't like a top secret. I wouldn't completely explode if people found out, but I didn't go around telling people, hey guys, I'm a Minecraft YouTuber, look at me. But anyways, there was an English lecture where our professor was talking about the different routes to publishing and stuff, and someone asked him, hey professor, how do you feel about online publishing? Is that good? And he's like, oh, I don't really know all that much about online publishing, but the internet is, it's clearly the future. I mean, for God's sake, there's even people out there that make a living playing video games, and I'm sitting there in row 3 just sweating like, oh god, he's on to me. He knows. Get back here. All right. Oh, you're approaching me? You're approaching me? Get the heck out of here. Wait, I won? Oh, that's nice. That was pretty normal, though. That isn't the part that traumatized me. So fast forward, it's the end of the semester, and I have a B+ in rhetoric, and I am so very close to an A-, all right? I am like less than 0.5% away, but there's only one assignment left.